Hello and welcome everybody. I'm here joined by NRG's head coach Thinkcard. Thinkcard, thank you for joining me. I know it's a tough loss here to Dignitas, but I do want to kind of dig into the draft while it's still fresh in your memory. I think to a lot of laymen or casual fans, they would kind of wonder why you kind of let Dignitas get a very similar draft from game 1 to game 2. It seemed like, you pushed them off the Ivern and they still picked up the Zeri, the Ashe. Can you talk to me, since you're the head coach, about what goes into, draft prep after game 1, the adaptations that you can make? Like, realistically, was there any idea to push Jensen off of Zeri, or did you guys think you had a feasible answer with the Lucian in game 2?
So obviously there are two things that you can do after you lose the first game. You can salty run back it, or you can make some adjustments. So we talked to the players about it, and we just felt super confident with our Rumble Maokai comp going into the weekend. It's something that is really highly prioritized in the Korean region right now. And so we just did really well in scrims. And we think that Jensen's better on Corki than it is on Zeri. He was just kind of gifted some pressure timers where he could have been pressured a little bit harder in the mid game, and he did a good job of getting himself gold. That's just Jensen's strength. He does not on 0-2. He's good at getting first turret, getting those timers to get gold. And then I think Jensen played super well. But as a team, we just were really confident with our composition. And we were confident if we ran it back a second time, we can improve on what we did the first time. And it didn't work out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And, to kind of talk about one of your players, specifically Contracts, I've always kind of figured him to be, and I've always kind of seen him more as a guy that will always bring out unique jungle picks, right? Like in this series, I always felt like he would be the one bringing out the Ivern, right? I mean, even last year when you guys won in the summer, he was bringing out like the Nidalee. He had all these like weird, cool picks. Are you guys still trying to explore that a little bit for Contracts? Because I kind of feel like, from like an outsider's perspective, that he hasn't really been able to bring a lot of his own kind of unique picks to the jungle as he did maybe last split. Is that more of a result of the meta, or is that more of a result of you guys trying to expand and maybe try different things, right? Like you said, Rumble Maokai super prioritized, but Maokai is a champion that pretty much every jungler has in their back pocket nowadays.
Yeah, Contracts is a pretty versatile player. Even if we do go back to last year, we won a lot of games on Rel Jungle, Sedge Jungle, these junglers that can kind of make a little bit of stuff happen, but most of the time you're the go button for the team. And Contract shines as a player when he has that type of agency that he feels like he can capitalize on quick angles that he sees. And this week he just said he felt really confident on the Maokai. He thinks the champion's very strong, so we prioritize it a lot and we build comps around it. He's still very good at the AP jungles. He's still good at some of the AD jungles as well. It's kind of just preference on what direction we want to take the team. And this week we really trusted our scrims, so we went with the Maokai.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I was able to talk to Palafox, sorry, a couple weeks ago, and we were kind of talking about like the meta and how it shapes out to be, and trying to dig deep for some of these like AD picks, because right now like AP junglers or like double ADC compositions like within the mid lane, it can get kind of difficult to like dig into your pockets, right? I think Palafox has been one to kind of bring out some of these picks. With you as a coach, is your focus more to kind of help him dig deeper into his pockets, or are you more looking at the holistic view of like, how can we mesh all these picks together to get everybody what they want? Like eventually somebody's gonna have to sacrifice something in the draft. So how does it kind of help? How does it kind of work for you to let Palafox find his pocket picks and deep dig into his pockets, but also allow your team to kind of play some of the champions they want and, not really, I guess put them on like a more supportive role?
Yeah, it's always going to be a balance. It depends how many people you have in your team that want to be that type of carry player. We're pretty lucky that we do have a pretty good balance. I think Huhi and Contracts are very flexible in their picks, so we can almost always be very confident loading into the game with a carry and with a tank pretty much on the support jungle role, or two tanks or whatever fits well for the draft.
Yeah.
And so we are pretty flexible in that regard. It is a balance, but I do think we're actually kind of lucky in the sense that we do have players that are very willing to play the Maokais, the Sedges, the Nollises, the Leonas, the Rels, and let that other person play, whether it's carry jungles or range supports and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely is a balance. I think that we're still trying to hit that, but for the most part, I think our players are very mature about it, and they understand that like our team comps do have to make sense, even though like you do want to pull out these like weird picks that might not mesh together with other weird picks.
I'm not sure if you were asked this. I know it's been a bit since the extended break that happened, but for NRG specifically, what were a lot of the things from the break that you were trying to take into these last couple weeks of play? Because we're into a shortened season, pretty much every series matters, right? You guys are on the brink of like, you can maybe get third, you can get fifth, right? With the loss and win kind of thing. What were some of the things that you guys were trying to work on specifically during that extended break for NRG to try to come in and close these final weeks out pretty strong?
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It is a little bit like just discouraging in general that like we have gone 0-2 these last 2 weeks, because if we look at our game against C9, the first game we were in a very favorable position and then we kind of threw it and then we just lost in a team fight, and that's exactly what happened against
Okay.
League in game one as well. So in both those games, you can see that like we are playing a more calculated style that is like more Gen-G-esque, in the sense that like you're not just taking the first fights that you see, you're really focused on the setup and playing slow and getting soul. And it just sucks that we didn't get positive reinforcement in our C9 series or in Dig, because say we actually are able to close out that C9 game and we just play for soul, and say we don't just, run it down mid in our team fight in game one against Dig, like we would have been able to see our improvements in that regard. So it is a little bit discouraging, or it can be for the players. But we're professional players, we're a professional team. We have to do our best to move forward, take what we can, and just take it by stride, because we've been around for a while. Almost all of our players have been around for a while. So we have our high highs, we have our low lows, but the better teams get out of the lows.
I want to kind of dig deep a little bit into that, like, mentioning, looking at that Gen GS style and looking at the best teams. For a coach, at what point does it strike the balance of like, hey, we want to be like these top tier level teams? We should be taking away things that they're doing, where Gen G is very good at like bringing out resources, taking off flashes before big team fights, dragons, like they have, like you said, that cold kind of calculated style. How much is it your responsibility to kind of say, hey, we need to be like them, but we also need to figure out like what NRG is good at? Like, what can we do to rack up some wins early? Because I mean, obviously in the long run, being able to emulate Gen G and being able to play that style will help you in the future, winning the spring or summer championship, getting into playoffs, potentially into worlds, like if you can master that style. But how is it to strike the balance of like, okay, we got to reel it back a little bit and we just need to find out like what comps work to get us through to the next round?
Yeah, what makes us good has it's usually been like those types of hard engaged comps, except for when like Kaisa Jace was OP last year.
Yeah.
Which is why once again, like these last 2 weeks, we've had like Vi Rumble, Maokai Rumble, stuff like that. You have good trigger pull. Um, and our big strength has always been as well, like contracts being able to find like these really quick angles, and Palafox being able to push the limits of his champion. So um, we do want to kind of emulate just the style of having everything be really calculated, and to be tracking numbers really well, understand which zones of the map we can fight in. But we definitely encourage the players that like if we are in those zones, like trust yourself. Take those engages that you see. GenG might not take those, but you guys can see those angles. As long as it's our zones and it makes sense, then be confident.
And you can choose to talk about as much as you can about this as you want, but like obviously there was a pretty significant staff reduction from last year to this year in regards to like player coaches and stuff like that. Do you think that's kind of had an effect on, necessarily like NRG's masterfulness of the meta, right? Because I feel like last summer, I feel like you guys were bending the meta to your will a little bit. You guys had all these different champions. Doko was able to pull out some of these carry picks when everybody kind of perceived him as like not a carry player, that kind of stuff. How has the transition been from last summer to now this summer? And in regards to like the reduction of staff and helping you guys kind of figure out what the meta is? Because I always feel like NRG is the best when they can kind of dictate some of these surprise picks that they can bring out during playoff time and during towards the end of the season.
We definitely changed our coaching staff. We lost Demonte and Mash, who are two very good coaches, and we did get Choo-Choos, who was just coming off of a coaching staff of the split with Golden Guardians.
Yep.
So I think it is easy to say, and it's safe to say that like yes, the changes impacted us, but I think that's kind of just excuses. Like we have coaches that are very capable of being able to fill that void. I just think that things aren't really clicking right now, and whether it's coaching staff, the way that we're playing in game from players, just everything being put together, we're just not finding the same momentum and the same just this yeah just the same synergy that we were able to find last year. And it's not like last year we had a perfect split going into playoffs. We were 9-9. We were 3-6 at one point as well. So regular split to us is just an opportunity to find your form going into playoffs. And assuming that we do well against TL and we can win a game or two or however many we need to make it into playoffs, then regular split doesn't matter too much as long as you find your form and you find what works for you going to playoffs. So that's kind of what we're looking at. This next week is definitely do or die for us. So we're going to work our asses off. But once you're in playoffs, you're in playoffs. So that's how we view it.
Couldn't agree more. A tough challenge ahead of you for next week. I'm really want to see you guys in the playoffs. I think NRG is a team that just, you know, looks better and scales better as the stakes get higher. I appreciate your time, Thinkcard. I know it's tough to do these interviews after a loss. Do you have any final shout outs to the fans, the people watching?
Not much. I mean, it's been a hell of a ride over the past year and a half. We're still working our asses off. Hopefully we can make you guys proud and make it into playoffs and make another run. And we're trying our best over here. So appreciate the support that we get. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, leave a like, comment, do all that jazz. I genuinely try to respond to every single comment I see because it's always interesting to see the other opinions of people that care about League of Legends esports as much as I do. Obviously, the best way to support me is to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications on my latest uploads. If you want to see more of me and my content, I stream on Twitch 5 days a week. The link will be in the description box below. If you are into short form content, I'm also on TikTok. We talk about LPL, LCK, LEC, all the stuff over there. We talk about roster moves. So if your jam is short form content, head over to TikTok, hit the follow button there. I'm also on Twitter. So all of that stuff will be in the description box below. But other than that, thanks for watching the video and I hope to see you soon.